Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back and thank you. This podcast is here for everybody on the Open Mic Comedy circuit, whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, or even a tutor. Even comedy fans who enjoy watching the stars of the future in the pub basements around the world. If you're thinking, I fancy giving this a go, then you'll get the stories from those on the inside track. Today's guest is more than happy to help improve the gaydar of the straight people. He's got two boyfriends, one nose ring, and he's a thoroughly lovely chap. Please welcome to the stage, it's Mr. Nick Bain. And in comes a clapping. There we go. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. What a fantastic intro. That's hilarious. I just thought on, I don't know if you know Shalaka, she's brilliant stand-up. She pissed off some TERFs with commenting on the horrible murder of Charlie Kirk. Graham Linehan went for her, and just all the comments were like, a typical lefty nose ring, nose ring, nose ring, nose ring. And I'm like, I did not know that was a thing. Apparently there's this whole nose ring, woke, left-wing theory. And I'm like, bring it on. Team nose ring all the way. It's hilarious.
Yeah. No, I was trying to work out the intro because I thought I knew two boyfriends, one nose ring. I was thinking of three. What could I put as a third? I can't say three good jokes because that sounds wrong. So I just went,
oh, it's generous.
Oh, well, you know. No, but no, it's a pleasure to have you on. Actually, you've been on the radar, not the gaydar, radar anyway, for a while. So it's fine. Nice to finally get you on.
Yeah, it's good to be on it. I've loved listening to loads of the episodes, and I've been doing stand-up for probably just like 15, 16 months now, and it's been great. Obviously, getting to know everybody, which is incredible. But then listening to this and hearing some of the common threads that we all seem to have about the community and what doing stand-up means to us. It's really cool. So I was like, definitely want to have a go, have a chat. And also it helps get my name out there. Not going to lie.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is what this is here for, really. You know, us little people on the open mic circuit you need that little bit of luck to get noticed.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes some promoters have listened to some people in here and then gone ahead and booked people. So it's quite nice that it's not a feeder, but there's a way of getting yourself out there and heard.
Definitely.
There are people that listen, so it's quite nice. And it's also fun hearing your mates.
Yeah, it is. I sometimes find podcasts difficult to listen to, especially when it's my mates, because I'm like, I keep wanting to interrupt and be like, I missed it. And I was like, oh, no, they can't hear me. It's a very one-sided medium.
Yeah. So how did your comedy journey all start then?
Well, I've basically whinged to my mates for years and years that I wanted to do stand-up. I thought I might be able to give it a go. And for my 40th back in 2020, which just shows how fucking old I am, and they got me...
You're younger than me.
They got me a stand-up course, which was fantastic. And then lockdown happened. So I did my entire stand-up course on Zoom, which was weird. And then did my showcase on Zoom, which is not how you want to do a showcase at all. Because you can't hear the laughter. And yeah, that was horrible. I tried too hard to be funny. And I think that's certainly when you're starting out, you're like, I've got to write the jokes and really get it in there. And actually it's not really the kind of stand-up I am. I'm more weird shit has happened to me in my life that other people find amusing. And then I build on that story or like make it more interesting, shift the dates around to suit what's happening in the world, whatever. So when I did the stand-up, I was like, it'd be really funny to tell a stupid story about wiping my eyes, and I was like, on reflection, not funny, just really awful, especially when I got my family to come and watch. It was just bad. So it took me until sort of May last year again to get the courage up, and I was like, I still really want to do this. I really want to do this. Did the Ultra Comedy course, which I'd recommend is if people don't have a lot of money, which most of us don't, to go on a comedy course, it's kind of good. It is, because it's essentially free. You've got to fundraise for a charity. So at the time, a friend of ours had just passed away, so I raised money for motor neuron disease. I was like, oh, I'm doing a good thing. I'm doing a good. It's nothing about my ego. No, no, no. I'm doing this good thing. And then I had my showcase at Backyard Comedy Club. I think a lot of people have said that's the easiest gig you will ever do in your life. Um, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Making 200 people laugh is fucking brilliant. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
could do this. Second gig I did was kudos to Big Nose Comedy. But it was in Sopranos in Soho to, I would say, a maximum of 12 people. And I did not make all 12 of those people laugh.
Mm.
So going from hearing 200 people being the most supportive audience, laughing at somebody like fumbling their papers,
Yeah.
to which I did not do. To this day, I've never brought notes on stage. I just can't. Um, no big deal to anybody who does. Just my way of working. To go then to a room of six people chuckling, I was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah.
This is wow. I still kind of loved it, and I was like, okay, that's a different noise. I've got to work back up to getting 200 people in a room. Um, and since then, I've done nearly 150 gigs.
Oh, cool.
Tried to be. I think it was the great Carl Wallace from G&B was like, you've got to do at least 3 gigs a week. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
That's quite a commitment. I can now see why, because the stage time takes forever to add up. And then last night I was actually down in Bristol and emceed my first ever full gig. So I ended up with doing 10 minutes opening, about 7 minutes opening the second half, and then little bits in between. So probably got about 20 minutes of stage time, all of which was actually good material. And I think if you told me to do 20 minutes of stage time a year ago, there would have been a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So when you start, and I've seen a lot of people starting like, oh, I've got 10 minutes of solid gold. I'm like, mate, you have five tops. And I thought I was the mutts nuts when I started. And then you sort of learn, like, oh, why did I spend 3 minutes getting to that punchline? I could have done it in one and
Yeah.
given myself way more.
Yeah, I think that's the number one crime for any new comedian within the first probably 10, 15 gigs, isn't it? You, especially if you've not come from a writing background or anything, you just go waffle, 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 joke. And the joke doesn't
Yeah.
have the impact because everybody's like, where's he going? What's he doing?
What's happening?
Yeah.
Um, I was lucky that I was one of those annoying people where you do your first G&B and Carl goes, how many gigs have you done? And I was like, I've done 8. And he's like, you have no business being this good at 8. I was like, yeah. And I kind of wish, like, it was a great compliment. And now when he jokes, he's like, oh, hear that silence? That's the comedians in the room hating you. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You've
Mm.
no business to be that good at 4 gigs. But I think it made me like chill a little bit and not be as hungry as I could have been for a while. And then I got frustrated and I was like, why am I not improving? And I was like, because you're not working. You're
Yeah.
just doing it and you're not listening to the room and you're not building things up. And then I was like, oh yeah, I've got this thing called comedy actually takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, it's not what a lot of, no offense to the straight white boys in the room, but it's not what a lot of straight white boys in the room seem to think is that I'm hilarious with my mates down the pub.
Yeah.
That's a very
There's,
different vibe.
yeah. Because when you're in that, you've always got that. You never have that silence, do you? Because people ask you questions, but when you're on stage,
Yeah,
there is no, there's no retort back. The retort back is the laughter, not the question that leads you onto something that's spontaneous and funny. And I think we
yeah,
all get guilty of, especially at start, where you're just there learning the lines in effect, and when you see somebody that references something that's happened in the room or somebody in the room or something that's really obvious to everybody, but you completely ignore it, you take yourself away from that room. And it's like, why is
definitely.
that? What, it's that whole thing. If you remember at school when some in the dining room or whatever, somebody smashed a plate. Hooray! If you're a startup comedian and somebody drops a glass and you ignore it, everyone's thinking, what's going on?
Oh, you're
That's
making me feel
obvious.
bad now. I did that last night. And I was like, I just took a breath and I kind of looked over the direction. I could see they were mortified, and I was like, I'm not going to point that out. I'm just gonna. I'm like, I'm not going to make the room like you've made a mistake because you've
Yeah.
dropped a glass in the middle of my set. Thanks. I should have. I listened to it back last night, and there was a police car went past, and I was like, I could have made a joke, and I didn't hear it in the moment.
Mm.
And I was like, listening back, I was like, oh, I could have made a joke about being heckled by the cops
Yeah.
or something. And I was like, oh, damn it. But that's a minor thing compared to it.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's a really good skill, I think, to build up is to be able to react to things, but not lose your track where you were. You know, and
definitely.
I remember seeing it was Max Silver at a Comedy Incorporated got heckled by the barman doing a cocktail shaking. And that was
Oh, that was
just,
such a funny night.
and it happened
Oh,
twice, and it was just like, and he referenced it, and it was just like, yeah, that's perfect.
he
Everybody in the
did
room
it.
could hear it, and he's just gone, yeah, heckled by a cocktail shaker or something, and just like, yeah, laughter. It works.
Yeah, he did it. He handled that so well. And it was just then the bar, everybody was in on that joke. And I've done it like the Bell with G&B when you've got like drunk people or the Jack the Ripper tour outside, and they're like, oh yeah, they know.
Yeah,
And like it's like, oh, they've heard this set before, they know what it's about. um and yeah, you've got to do that. I think I've since going up to Edinburgh, I went up for like 4 or 5 days this year, and I ended up doing basically a month's worth of gigs in
yeah,
5 6 days. Something's definitely clicked in my ability to play around with my set, in that I've been moving jokes around a lot more, and I've felt so much freer. And I'm lucky enough now to be doing sevens and tens in certain places, like Comedy Incorporated, Queer Comedy Club. Had some longer time with them. Um, Obviously, G&B got to headline a couple of times, headlining again, I think on the 29th. Definitely putting my name in the hat for the 2000th gig and see if I can get
yeah,
on stage on that. But since being back from Edinburgh, being able to play with the material more, go remember as well, like, oh, I didn't say that bit, and having the foresight to be able to go, I know that can actually fit in here. So
yeah,
there's a joke I make about being Schrodinger's immigrant, because my accent flexes and code switches a lot. And I was like, oh, cool. And I did it. I missed it at a gig recently. And then I was like, still talking and still telling jokes, but I was sort of mentally going, there's a bit coming up where I talk about, so it's like someone asking, does my family know about me having two boyfriends? And I make a joke about my ex-husband being English and the fact that the two boys are Irish. And I was like, cool, I can drop that joke can sit really nicely in there because it really
yeah,
cements the Irishness. And it got a bigger joke. And I was like, do you know what? If I hadn't have fucked it, I wouldn't have known to move it to somewhere else. And
yeah,
I tried it again last night, and I was like, yeah, actually that kind of really sits in that area really nicely. So yeah, being able to relax into the material, I think, is makes such a difference.
yeah. How did you find Edinburgh?
It was incredible. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I'd never been up for either as a punter or taking a show, and it was the great David Ian, who's really supportive of up and coming comics. One of the three people that owns Queer Comedy Club, along with Kate and Jeremy, and we were having a chat, and he was like, "Are you going up to Edinburgh?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a show. I don't. Like, it's not for me." And he's like, "You're an idiot. Get get up there, and you'll find compilation spots, you'll find spots, and you'll get to see loads of comics doing what they do best."
mm,
I was like, all right. So then ended up staying in the Queer Comedy Flat, which was brilliant as well, because after everybody's gigs finished, a lot of us just ended up hanging out in the flat, and people were like, oh, you came to my show. Do you think this worked? Do you think that worked? How did, and you could have that mini writer's room in the flat, being comedians taking the chronic piss out of each other, which was fantastic. So it's without a doubt leveled up my comedy, and made me hungry to potentially do a split bill. I've been speaking to another comic about it. We've got we've got an idea. We were going to do Leicester, but I don't think we've got time.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, watch this space. It would be yeah. I won't say who it is, just in case it doesn't come off. But um, our styles really complement each other,
Okay.
and I've already got a pun for the title of the show, so that's working in marketing as well. That kind of sometimes there have been campaigns where I've thought of the pun and then retrofitted the campaign to make it work, just
Yeah.
because I wanted to use the pun. And this might be a bit of a case of that.
Okay. But what about just like the general vibe of Edinburgh then? I guess was it busy up there?
It was pretty busy. I was there for the first weekend, so everything was still kind of building up, and it wasn't like
Mm.
mid month. But the vibe and it's chaos. It's absolute organized chaos. There's if anybody's coming to see your show, they've decided to see you above at least six other shows, not including the before and after that they may miss. So you've got to be really appreciative. I had to rewrite so much stuff on the fly that I didn't think was London centric, but apparently nobody outside of London knows what Dalston is. And when that's your opening line, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've got to flex that. That's not getting the joke it normally does. And then the whole city's in just this really creative vibe where you can shorthand a lot of stuff. Like, I think if anybody's ever been to like an industry exhibition or something where like for work, and I don't know whether you're, I don't know, a central heating expert and you get to talk about boilers or
Yeah.
whatever, and you can shorthand lots of stuff because actually everybody in the room knows what that kind of boiler is. It's the same but for comedy and performance. So you're like, oh, how did your tech run go? How did this go? How did that go? And everybody just knows it, and it works really well. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend it if you can afford it. The cost is such an insane barrier to entry. Like that's before I even performed. Like just hotel spaces, Airbnbs. It's kind of depressing because there are so many great comics who have zero funds.
Mm.
Realistically, I'm lucky. I have quite a well-paid day job, which meant I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna punt this up onto my credit card and I'll worry about it later.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky I can do that. So everyone can, and I really appreciate the sort of place of privilege that I'm in that I can do that. And I don't have kids. I don't have two boyfriends takes up a lot of time, but not as much as actual kids because
Yeah.
boyfriends you can actually leave behind. Like you don't have to bring them with you. Kids, people tend to frown about that, or the other parent may have. So you're just going on the piss for 5 days. Yep, I'm going to hang out with my mates and tell jokes. Cool. Leave me with screaming toddler. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah. I always think the cost of Edinburgh though it's such a shame that the cost is there and how much it
Yeah.
really is. Because I've done this analogy before. I went there 2023 for 3 days, and the cost of the train fare up there, the cost of a Premier Inn. So we're not even talking classy stuff. We're talking
Yeah.
Premier Inn. The Premier Inn was charging nearly £300 a night. Yeah. And then when you added on, the most reasonable thing I found in Edinburgh was food and drink. They were actually quite reasonably priced. The rest,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's coming from London, but the rest of it was horrific. And the amount we spent in Edinburgh compared to, it was more expensive to do 3 days in Edinburgh than it was to do 1 week all inclusive in Cape Verde.
It's insane. I mean, I was really lucky. I got a good deal with the Queer Comedy flat. So
Yeah.
it's a flat that has like 12 different comics in it. And the team behind Queer Comedy don't run that for a profit. They run that to make sure that people who can afford can go and to make it more accessible. And I really love them for that. But even still, that was still 95 quid a night for 5 nights. And that's a chunk of change. And it was substantially cheaper than anywhere else. Yeah, the food and drink was sort of, yeah, like you said, maybe I'm used to the London prices was the reasonable element of it.
Yeah.
I dread to think what it costs to actually put on a show. I'm going to have to start saving and definitely not be going on any holidays between now and then.
Yeah. The arts is such a, I don't know, it feels like something wrong when the arts has this barrier to entry for people.
I had a conversation with my aunt, who's a very savvy businesswoman, and she was like, "Oh, right. So how much does it cost to put on a show?" And I was like, "Oh, anywhere between, I think it's about 2 and 7.5 grand, depending on what you're doing." And she's like, "Cool. And you make your money back through ticket sales, right?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "That's a really stupid business model." And she was like, "So what happens if you go up and nobody sees your show?" And I'm like, "Well, you've just spent that money." And she's like, "How is that a viable business?" And I'm like, it's the arts. I don't think viable business plans really come into it, but
No.
it's one of the ways to get recognized, and you can get this. And she was like, "That sounds stupid." And I was like, "Cool. Well, All right, I won't be coming to you for a loan when I need it.
So, what's your kind of flipping back a bit? What is your best and worst moments you've had on the stage?
One of the worst was at an old Comedy Incorporated gig that Steve did down in Bexley, and my set would have been good. It was when he was still running a competition, and I sat through the first four. I was a good audience member, but I genuinely didn't find any of them funny. And I was like, I'm gonna absolutely smash this out of the park because if people are laughing at this, they're gonna think I'm fucking brilliant. They're gonna think they did not at all think I was funny. Because I walked on stage like I owned the building and I gave the audience zero respect and I died on my arse. And rightly so, because I didn't connect with the audience. I didn't make any effort. I thought I was above them. So I told one of my favorite jokes, and James Townsend afterwards went, "Mate, that was a really solid joke. It deserved a better laugh." And I went, it got what it deserved on the night.
Hmm.
And Steve gave me a hug and went, "Do you know why?" And I went, "Oh, I know exactly what I did wrong." And I took it and I learned from it. But listening to those 5 minutes of polite chuckles was excruciating. And another bad one I had was a G&B in the Royal George, which is a home gig for me. I love it. I
Yeah.
tend to do really well there. I've been at another gig, did really well there, and I was like, do you know what? I'm walking through Soho. Let's see if I can get 5 minutes at G&B. I'd say about 6 or 7 pints at that point.
Oh God.
It's just like none of like it couldn't have been any worse if people had been sat down having dinner. And I made a joke. It was back when Mac was still in the UK, and I again didn't pay attention to the room. And I made a joke that I walked in halfway through the night like I was going to stab someone.
Right.
Which, if you're a G&B regular, at the time, Mac was telling a story about it. Some guy had stabbed somebody outside, and they came and hid in the audience, and he got up and
Yes.
left during Mac's set. If there had been a single other G&B regular there, that would have gone down a storm. Instead, I just told a very bemused group of people that I'd walked in like I'd stabbed someone, which isn't funny. And I ended up apologizing to Kyle afterwards, and he was like, "You know why you bombed?" And I went, "Yeah, because there was nobody in that room that got that joke, and it's a very, very specific joke."
Yeah.
Um, so those would be two of my worst. But like anytime I've also had working on a joke in it, I ran it past a friend of mine, and she was like, "Yeah, that is hilarious." I've got a joke about basically you couldn't put me in the Cotswolds; it'd be like, "Where's Wally the Hate Crime Edition?" And I built toppers onto that about like a trans woman looking for a toilet. And I went deeper and harder, but it was in the middle of a 5 minute set, and I just didn't have the time to take the audience on that journey. So when I did it
Hmm.
at Career Comedy Club, it was like laughing, 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 laughing. Said that punchline, silence, and I was
Oh.
like, "Oh, okay, you weren't ready." And then again afterwards, I was like, they didn't have the time to build up to that. They didn't have the space to recover from that, and it really dented the rest of my set. But you have to listen to the silence.
Yeah.
Best gigs. Last night was an absolute screamer. Last night was fantastic. It was down in Bristol. I went to uni in Bristol, so it felt like a bit of a homecoming gig. Um, and that was so much fun. Really, the People's Comedy Collective, really, really good. But I'd say even still, the best gig I've done ever was at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, and that was for a fetish event and a fetish cabaret. It was quite. I think I'd only done about 50, 50 or so gigs at that point. And the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, for anybody that's queer, is like a mecca. It's where Lily Savage told the Met Police when they raided during the AIDS crisis wearing marigolds, she told them to fuck off and do the dishes. It's where allegedly Freddie Mercury bought Princess Diana. It's a nightclub that I've been clubbing in for 20 plus years. So to be on that stage for me was just, it was really emotional, and it
Yeah.
was really important to me to not fuck it up. It was also the first time I'd been given 7 to 10 minutes just to play. My friend Tish, Letitia, as a drag queen, she was comparing, and we were going to do, she was lip syncing to Hit Me Baby One More Time, and I had to come on stage and spank her, which was all fun. But and then I'd come on again and do my set. But in the interval, I had a complete panic attack. I was like, I am not worthy of this stage. I am not ready. You guys are such professionals. She gave me a massive hug and said, I've been making people laugh by talking about my hemorrhoids for 40 minutes. I think you're going to be fine. And I got on stage and everything just flowed. And it was just, my friends were in the audience and I got to call them out and like
Yeah.
share stories and all of this stuff. And it just worked. And it was absolute magic. And it's that feeling when you get off stage, you're like, and I think it was the first time since my showcase, which, yes, it was 200 people, but that's because 20 people brought 10 of their friends.
Yep.
This was 100 and something people, sold out, really like people I respected in the audience, genuinely having a great time because I was telling really good jokes. And that will live on in my memory for forever. It was so good. Can't wait to do it again.
No, it sounds like a lot of fun. I think when it's you, you have those nights where you know something feels a bit special, and sometimes it can just be because there's certain people in the audience or whatever else. And I don't know if there's once you settle in, you get over that you get that first laugh or something, and you settle
Yeah.
in, and you're like, yeah, this is fun now. I've got this room. They want to hear from me. They're not sitting around going, oh, who's next?
Yeah, mind you, I've also had like nights at a top and bottom comedy where it was just the audience was the lineup, as
Yeah,
can happen at non-bringer events, and I think they're really important. Um, I think we had two non-comedians in the audience, and we just it turned into a bit of a workshop, and I just went completely rogue.
yeah,
Um, and again, I had a belter of a night because there was no pressure, and I got to try new stuff and stuff I wouldn't ordinarily tell. I ran horrendously over, and I had to apologize to the guys, and they were like, "No, we just wanted you to finish telling that story. That story was hilarious."
yeah,
Oh my God, that actually happened to you? And I'm like, yeah, 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 that's a real story. So yeah, it's interesting. You can have those teeny tiny gigs where it's basically just you and other comics, and you have a weird freedom because you're like, oh, this lot know what's about, so I can just do it as a bit of a workshop. I can trial shit.
yeah.
And then there's other gigs where you're like, I've really done something with this room. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that any new open mic comedian needs to understand is that if you do a room where it's just comedians, and you know, if you're sitting there, I had this on like my fourth gig or fifth gig or something like this. Walked in and the audience is comedians plus one guest, one audience member, and that audience member is my wife that I brought along, and she's basically now the target for every comedian because she's the only audience member. And you know, you see the people doing their stuff, and the hardest thing is to make a comedian laugh, I think.
yeah,
And you're not receptive to them, and they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, whatever. And then you have that feeling of, oh, I can save this night. I know my stuff's good. And you get on stage and you're like, no, it's not. It's not saved the night at all. It's just done exactly the same as everyone else. And you realise it's not so much you or the audience, it's a combination of everything that's going on. And just that's the moment you have to go, I'm just going to fuck about and learn something from it, because you will never learn anything from performing to just a bunch of comedians your same set unless you just try to
yeah,
remember it again. You're not going to learn anything. But if you can go in and start playing with people in the audience, and if the comedians are up for a bit of receptive banter, it builds up your crowd work skills as well,
you're
and just take
definitely.
advantage.
Yeah, it's wicked. I think ev I've always tried to, every gig I've done, I've tried to like afterwards. Well, one, I record it all on my Apple Watch, so I don't have to watch myself because that can be painful. But I can listen to myself back on the tube on the way home. And I've always tried to do like, right, what went wrong? What went right? What can I learn from it? How can I build that bit out? Um, I've got a new bit which is sort of sparking from an intrusive thought. I had that. Is it still an Eiffel Tower if the two people at the ends don't high five? And then building onto that, being like, there aren't very many other like architectural euphemisms for shagging. And so I tried that the other night at one of Matt Zitron's nights. That was on a Monday, and it worked. But I was like, okay, there is definitely. I've come up with a couple of them, and I'm like, right, there's definitely a way to frame this that is really ridiculous, and it builds up to the most ridiculous, which is, and if you find yourself shagging two armadillos, that's the Sydney Opera House. Then like, cool, because I don't take myself seriously at all, but I was like, okay, I spent ages looking at different buildings and thinking of different buildings. I was like walking around and was like, that's clearly like two turtles shagging or two armadillos. And I was like, yeah, cool. That's taking something quite dirty and
Yeah.
a little bit blue and then just making it ridiculous, which to hopefully break the tension. So keep an eye out. I'll probably be dropping that into my set sometime soon.
So talking about joke writing then, do you have a process, or is it just story, see what happens, or?
Um, it's so the basis of my set really at the moment is sort of being in a polyamorous relationship and the questions we get asked, which range from just genuine intrigue to just people being really offensive. And I riff on that, so sort of build characters out. Um, but I'm starting to. I've definitely moved from just telling stories that are funny to okay, how can I make that bit funnier? How can I make that? How can I put a punchline in there? How can I put a punchline in there?
Yeah.
Um, and I think, like every comedian on the circuit, my notes app is just full of stupid thoughts that I had in the shower. Like I thought the other day, I was like, do you know what? If Naomi Campbell threw her phone today, no one would give a shit because iPhones are really light. And like a
Yeah.
Nokia is a brick. You can see why that's an assault weapon.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, there's something in that, right? I'll come back to that. So I'm always noting down different things. Like I thought about the fact that one of my boyfriends does have a nose ring as well. And it just, I don't know why, it just made me think of, do you remember in the film The Labyrinth? There's the two door knockers, and
Hmm.
one of them always lies and one of them always tells the truth.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's got to be a way I can take the piss out of us saying that. Like one of us will tell you the right way to the dark room, the other one won't, or something like. There's got to be something because I like taking a mick about what I look like because I appreciate it's fairly niche. It's quite preposterous, which is a really good reference for a podcast, which is a non-visual medium.
Yeah.
But I'm I'm a beardy, pierced, tattooed bear
Yeah.
from the queer community. I take the piss out of that. I live up to a lot of stereotypes and enjoy taking the mick out of them because I think it's funny. My mates this year bought me, you might have seen on Instagram, there's the adverts for the fluffy caps, baseball caps that have Care Bears on it. And I'll
Yeah.
quite often wear a Care Bear t-shirt. I loved the Care Bears as a kid, and as 45-year-old man, I have no shame in still loving them now. I think they're brilliant. I did a joke last night about them. I said, "Oh, how can you not love something that just like shares pure joy out of their belly, out of their tummies?" And
Yeah.
I just went. I mean, I think I'm the same. It's just a bit lower. Um, and the room took a second and was like, "Oh my God!"
Mm.
As I'm stood there with a Carabao baseball cap on and a t-shirt that says "Bears for Dolls' Rights" and stuff. So yeah, in terms of joke writing, I tend to. I, I'm building out my set. I've got different stories that happened to me in my life. I joke about my mum having cancer. I joke about not being cool until after mum died, which is dark. She and my family taught me to always find the funny, and there is always, even in your worst moments, there's always something funny. And I think I'd say that's also one of the reasons I do it. If somebody's had a fucking awful day and they've just had the worst day and they're sat in the audience and they just think, I fucking hate my boss, I hate my job, I hate this. And if I can make them forget that crap for 5 minutes
Yep.
because I'm telling a stupid story about local tap water or Pringles or whatever, I've done a good thing. And it's I mean, obviously I love the attention, I love the validation, but if we as comics can make people, even for 10, 15 minutes or 1 minute in our set, forget how shitty things are in the world, we've done a really good thing.
Yeah.
And not to be, yeah, it's probably be a bit serious and whatever, but I think it's important. It really is.
Oh no, I'm completely with you. Comedy gets you through. Comedy as a punter can get you through some really weird stuff and things you don't kind of expect. You go through a lot of the phases where people are, somebody tells a cancer joke, and there's somebody in the audience who's been affected by it and stuff like that. And there's that thing where people start feeling offended on behalf of other people. I know I've recounted this quite a few times to people, but I went to, after my mum passed away from 20 odd years of a battle of cancer, I went to I went to a stand-up comedy night, which was like a compilation one, and it had Al Murray was comparing, Kerry Godliman was performing, and the main headliner was Frankie Boyle, and his main joke was, I went to the doctor the other day to get my cancer results to see what, how things were going to go. I walked in, he said, I've got some good news and some bad news. He said, well, let's go for the bad news first. He went, well, bad news is you've got cancer. He went, well, what's the good news? And he went, you'll go down log flumes after chemotherapy a lot quicker. And I howled. I howled louder than anybody else in that room. And the mate that was with me looked at me and went, are you all right? I'm just like, I needed that.
So
I had to hear it.
I tell a joke. I mean, it's just a story, but it's absolutely hilarious. So the day I got my HIV diagnosis, I called my best mate up, and we met outside Tate Modern, and she just gave me a massive hug. And the first thing she said to me was, I guess we'll have to sell our tickets to Angels in America because it's about you. Burst out laughing, absolutely. And I hadn't, quite rightly, had not laughed all day. It's finding
Yeah.
out you have a disease that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. It's not fun, but I absolutely burst out laughing. And I was like, I needed that just to break the tension. And I think one of my favorite comics is absolute master at it is Daniel Sloss. And
I love Daniel Sloss.
the journey, whether it's losing his sister, whether it's his best mate being raped, like some of the most horrible, horrible things that have ever happened to people. And he tells it in such a way that you're in absolute pieces laughing, but in no way denigrating the horribleness of it. It's like, it's okay to laugh. And I think, it's like I used to listen to Griefcast by Carrie Lloyd, and I would highly recommend that podcast to anybody that's lost anybody ever. And if you haven't lost anybody, you're fucking lucky, and I wish it would never change for you. But I used to listen to Griefcast quite a lot, and her guests talk about the humor and craziness that happens after you lose someone. And it was so therapeutic for me, even though like I lost my mum when I was 16. We joke in my family that we've lost more people than like socks down the back of a dryer, because we went through a really horrible 5 or 6 years where people were just dropping like flies, and we were like, oh, do you know what? It'd be really good if the family could come together for Christmas instead of a funeral. That'd be lovely. But listen to I heard stories about my mum that I would never have heard while she was still alive, and they were hilarious. And I think now when I hear somebody's lost somebody, I'm either the perfect person for you or the worst, because I don't treat you any differently. I make sure you laugh. And some people just want a cuddle, and I will just give them a cuddle because I'm not evil. Other people are like, they're not ready for that. And I'm like, when you are, I'm going to be here. We're going to chat shit, or we can just sit in silence. We don't need to do anything. You're in a really horrible place, but one day you will laugh again. And if I can make that happen, that's bloody brilliant. And one of the best pieces of advice I heard recently was, if you hear, and this isn't comedy, it's just life, if you hear about somebody that's lost somebody, don't ask them how they died. You don't want to remember that. That's shit.
Yeah.
That's like, how'd they go? Well, cool. Please drag me back to that really horrible moment. Ask them, tell me something about them that made you smile. And I think maybe that's where the comment, I'm like, yeah, because I want to remember my mum and my aunts and whatever for the stupid shit they did, for the comedy, for the laughs that we shared. And I've started doing that now when I meet people, and I'm like, if it's not too soon, tell me something about them and they go, oh, I remember a happy thing. And I think that's good.
And so it acts as a therapy for them as well.
Yeah.
And they don't realise it because they start talking about the happy stuff, and it for those minute or two that they're talking, they put the crap stuff to the back of their mind. It's not there. I always, if I know that somebody's lost somebody or whatever, and I'm fairly close to them, I'll walk up to them and I'll give them a hug, and I will say, I really apologise if I say anything offensive in the next couple of hours. None of it comes from a place of hate or anything, but I can be a dickhead, and I can be a dickhead, and I'm just trying to make you laugh, and that's it.
And they wouldn't be friends with you if you weren't a dickhead. I firmly believe my friends know what kind of idiot I am, so they're prepped for it.
It's a strange thing, but yeah, comedy can fix a lot of things.
Yeah, that's why I love it. And then, like, I've got a joke well, again, it's just something that happened to my mum. She went in for her second mastectomy, and the registrar was like explaining why, and that it was she needed to sign a release form in case they removed the wrong breast. Biologically speaking, that's very difficult to do if you've already had one mastectomy.
Yep.
So she went down into the operating theatre with a post-it note for her surgeon that just said, "By the way, it's this one," and an arrow across. And I told that story to a friend of mine that I'd known. I've known him for over 10 years, for about 10 years now, and I told him about 7 years into our friendship, and I told him that story, and he just went, "That explains this. That's why. Yeah, now I get it."
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. I hate doing like U-turns and stuff on topics like that, 'cause that's quite a nice topic to talk about.
I could sit and chat for hours.
Yeah. But I was going to ask about your open mic circuit experiences. Sort of like when you did your course, was you aware there was this circuit?
I wasn't really. I had no idea how to get into it. And Tom, who ran the course, I was like, "Oh, so what happens next?" kind of thing. And he's like, "Have you heard of Facebook?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I hate it." And he's like, "Well, all of comedy exists on Facebook." And I'm
Yep.
like, "Oh, are you fucking kidding me?" Um, so then I started to find these groups, and then I knew Matthew Alley, who's sort of a couple of years ahead of me in his stand-up journey,
Hmm.
now doing things like opening for Rosie Jones, which is amazing and so well deserved. He's hilariously funny.
Yep.
He was like, "Okay, if you want to make this happen, here are all the groups." And I was like, how do I get gigs?" And he's like, "Ask." I was like,
Mm.
"What?" He's like, "You just have to ask, and film stuff and send people links." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I started doing it, and then you meet more people, and then you hear about other people's nights, and um, so yeah, I had no idea this whole world existed, and
Yeah.
I love it because 99.9% of the people I've met are bloody brilliant. And I was definitely one of your guests. I don't know if it was Rahan or someone was talking about actors are really competitive because there's only one role,
Yeah.
whereas for us, it doesn't matter that there's 7 or 10 of us on a bill. We're all doing the same job,
Yep.
and we can all listen to each other and egg each other on, and we all want each other to succeed because nobody wants to come on after somebody's killed everything. Nobody wants to. We've all felt the pain of bombing, so nobody wants anybody else to go through that pain. So
Yep.
it's a really good group of sounds people that I didn't know existed. And being in your 40s, I've got a really good, solid, really good group of friends. But suddenly opening up, I'm like, oh my God, here's another 15 people, 15, 20 people who I didn't know this time last year, barely knew existed. And I'd say there's quite a few of them. If I was really in trouble, I could just pick up the phone and go, "You don't really know me, but
Yeah. It's weird. You know these people for 5 minutes at a time,
yeah."
but you're all going through the same thing, and that's quite rare, I think.
And also, the 5 minutes that they're sharing is quite often kind of how comedy has evolved sort of now.
Yeah.
Those 5 minutes are quite often quite deep and personal stories because I think comedy's just evolved that way. And I mean, unless you're doing like one-liners and whatever, which is a skill I salute because
Oh, yeah.
one-liners and puns, they may be, you might have the whole room groaning at the dad joke, but I'm like, just to remember all of those, because I'm not a word perfect comic by any stretch of the imagination. So every time I tell the story, it changes ever so slightly. Different bits stay, different bits drop out. If I had to remember my entire set word for words, I would salute the people that can do that because
Yeah.
there's no way I could. Um, but yeah, I love the community that's there. I mean, I know there's the whole bringers, non-bringers argument, pay to play, like whatever you want to call it. You know, if we were playing football, we'd play pitch fees. If we were going to a golf club, we'd play golf membership fees. It is expensive to do bringers. I'm lucky. I have two boyfriends, one of whom would rather sit and listen to comics than sit at home. So poor James has been to, I would say, of my 150 gigs, probably about 100 of them. Um,
Blimey.
to the point that most of the comics I gig with regularly know him to see or give him a big hug. If there was, I could nominate him for Bringer of the Year, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
He's been like, I couldn't have done it without him. When you've done non-bringer gigs and you see it's just six comics in a room, I see why you need bringers. see why they don't exist outside of London. Also, hand on heart, if somebody said to me, and I didn't know one of the comics on stage, I'm going to go to an open mic night, there's going to be maybe 12 comics, of which 7 are probably going to be pretty good. 1, maybe 2 stellar, some really bad ones, and possibly 1 or 2 where you will literally want to peel your skin off to get to the end of their set because either it's just not their night or they're terrible. I'd be like, do you know what? There's something on Netflix I want to watch. I adore the people that come out just to watch us because, before I did stand up, I didn't go to open mic nights because there is that sort of like, there's going to be someone on there that is going to be really awful, and those 5 minutes feel like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I've seen people and it's happened to me where I've definitely been that painful 5 minutes, and then people have come back. I had a friend over from Ireland, and I did a gig at Queer Comedy Club, and I got off stage and I went, oh. He was like, no, you were really funny. I was like, you don't need to be polite, mate. Oh, that was not one of my best ones. And then he came to my So You Think You're Funny heat the next night, and I smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. Not good enough to get to Edinburgh, but that's a whole other thing. I smashed it. I dealt with a heckler really well. And afterwards he was like, oh, that. And I'm like, yeah, now you can see the difference between a good and a bad night.
Yeah, definitely. So if things do go well for you then in comedy and you progress, the little fun question is always, what would be your famous walk-on song that you would pick to walk onto the stage to?
Well, the advantage of having done top and bottom comedy is I've got to pick quite a few so far. I'm a massive stereotype, so I bloody love Kylie. So Lights, Camera, Action by Kylie is always something I love because it's just a bit of a banger. At the moment, I'm obsessed with Jump by Blackpink. It's an absolute banger of a track. I did a fashion degree and I had Black History Month was the name of the song. I can't remember the name of the artist, but I had that as and it's real stompy, kind of cool music. So there's a couple, but I would probably say Lights, Camera, Action by Kylie because it kind of gives people a hint of what's going to come. The naughtiness in my set is probably better for a Danny Minogue song rather than Kylie. Danny's definitely the naughtier of the sisters in gay folklore anyway. Kylie's the princess, whereas Danny's the one that's naughty.
Okay, fair enough. I also, as you've listened to a few of these, you might know what's coming up next. For anybody that's new to this, I like to set the comedians a challenge to tell a joke live on stage from this joke book called The Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch. So if anybody
so bad.
They are
bad.
Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. Well, a lot of them are terrible. But the idea is that the comedians get to pick a joke from this book. They only get to pick it by page number. So what they're going to get, I've no idea what they're going to get. They've no idea. We've not spoken about this beforehand. If they pick a page number that's already gone, we keep going until we find one because no two comedians really should have the same joke. So, Nick, I'm assuming you're going to take part.
Oh, absolutely. I've
Good
no idea how to do this.
Or I'd have to cut that last minute of waffle out.
No, definitely. It's hilarious. I try now. I think most people try and get the joke in before the episode comes out, because I keep trying to listen and go, oh, which one was it that you had to say? Which is I think it's a fun game.
There was actually quite a good. I think it's Paul Little's one. He did the joke. He got absolutely nothing, and his reply he said after that was, "I only told that as a dare," and he let it settle. And he went, "They're not all dares."
Oh, I love Paul's set.
I love the way some people can utilize this kind of stuff into their sets. It's great. So yeah, go on. Give me a number between 5 and 95.
I'll go at 45, which is how old I turned a week ago.
Okay, you've got quite a long joke, and it's the first pick. It is. Right, you're probably going to have to shorten this down. A girl in California spent $200 to a limousine to take her to prom. When she got outside, the car was sitting there empty with a note to say the driver was not included. Her father came out and found her looking upset. What's wrong, sweetie? He asked. The girl gestured at the limo. I spent all that money and I have nothing to show for it. Fucking hell.
Oh my God. That is so bad. It's so bad, but both of us have both burst out laughing.
But it's so bad it's quite good.
Oh, okay, cool.
I didn't see where it was going, and I've got it in front of me.
Oh, you're gonna have to send that to me by text message.
I will do.
I'm not gonna remember that.
You can shorten it, but it's shorten it, adjust it. If you
Cool. I'm gonna need to think.
Got a niece or something that's going to prom, that could work. That's what I kind of do. Is that if I sometimes find that if I've been challenged to do this before, and I had to get a really like, why did the chicken cross the road joke in? And I was just like, how am I going to do this? And I managed to get it in by saying that my daughter at the age of 7 told me this joke. And I said to the audience, if you don't laugh, you're not laughing at a 7-year-old daughter who's made an effort. And
I think I was there when you did that. You cunning git.
It was.
Apparently the why did the chicken cross the road joke is it's like a test for autism now.
Oh, okay.
So if you just envisage a chicken potentially, but if your brain can register that a chicken is someone that's afraid of crossing a road,
yeah,
then you can see subtleties and layers. And I was like, I've spent my whole life thinking it's just a chicken. And I was like, maybe it is just a chicken. I was like, am I overthinking this? I was like, oh my God.
yeah.
Or is it somebody that's afraid to do stuff? I was like, but I have genuinely spent my whole life thinking it's just a chicken.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and it's funny enough to think, why would a chicken cross the road? But also I was like, oh, this is deep.
Yeah.
Or
is
it just the funniness of a chicken crossing a road?
So I guess lastly is what are your socials that people can find you on?
I'm at Bainser, Bainser on Instagram. That's pretty much the only place I am at the moment. Closed Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I think it's Nick Bain videos because some bastard got Bainser before me.
Okay.
So you can see clips there. But generally just, Instagram, give us a follow. That'd be great. I post clips every so often. Or it's just thirst traps. Thirst traps and showing off and being daft.
Fair enough.
Or calling out to podcasters being like, please pick me.
Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We've got a website, openmiccomedypod.com. We're on all the platforms, as you know. Whichever platform you're listening to us on, please give it a like, follow, subscribe, comment, do whatever, get us up the rankings. It helps get these people heard. And, you never know. You may be listening to the next big thing. In 5 years' time, you go, I've heard that voice before. Oh, yeah, he was on that little podcast I listened to at some point, So lastly, I just want to say thank you very much for your time today, Nick. It's been fabulous.
Mark, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I think what you do with this pod to raise people up and just to create a safe space for us all to have a bit of a natter and chat and share why we love doing this crazy thing that we do. That everybody tells us we're so brave, and we all look at each other and go, no, we're just being idiots, really.
Yeah.
It's like, I always find that women like, oh, you're so brave. I'm like, I'm not a surgeon. I'm not running into burning buildings. The worst that can happen is that I spend 5 minutes boring somebody's pants off, and they go into the night thinking, what a pillock. And I'm like, I can do that in the office. I can say dumb shit anywhere and people think I'm a moron. So it doesn't matter if I'm on a stage or not.
Yeah, but no, thank you. It's been it's lovely doing this. It's lovely hearing the stories from all you guys. So,
very good. Thank you very much.
And for the rest of you that are listening, I will speak to you all very, very soon.